Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Ryan talking here from the Black Room here at T3. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's having a good day today. A little bit of a slow day today. Actually, it was pretty slow, and that kind of prompted me to jump on here and do a video on matching my expectations with the current market environment. Okay, we did some discussion about this in the Black Room towards the afternoon, and also today we had Home Depot report earnings today, and when Home Depot reports, and it's nothing about Home Depot, the company specifically. I love Home Depot, love shopping there, but as far as when they report, I use them as a signal for the slowing of earnings season, which happens every quarter. Okay, early troubles that I had and how I was able to overcome some of them by matching my expectations with the current market environment. Okay, so briefly, last week, I should say, this was actually my watch list coming into, there was one or two symbols on here that I took off, but this was my watch list for the afternoon today. And last week, and especially the week before, but even last week, I had maybe sometimes 30 symbols on each watch list, long and short. And today, this is what I had left. So what that tells me is that there aren't as many, for me primarily, there aren't as many daily charts where I see a picture on the daily chart, because I use a top-down approach, that I really like. Primarily gaps. We had a couple gaps today. We had the AAP today. We had which was a pretty good gap. We had the VERI, which was my favorite gap today, which actually was I took a half-hour loss in this today, but this was my favorite gap down. And we had a couple other things. The TPR was my favorite gap up today. So we had a couple of gaps that were pretty good, that made it to the hot list at the open, but there weren't a whole lot of really nice gaps. And then also, when I scanned for gap areas and gap bullies, the BZUN was the best gap area that I found today. Actually, it was the only gap area that I found today. And then the couple long watches that I had, the LLY, which never really cleared as far as a gap bully here. So I also didn't have a really good list. We didn't have a good gaps list. We didn't have a good gap bully list as far as daily charts. ESRX, which actually was breaking out here and is continuing. I decided to pass on this ESRX, but this was an okay breakout on the 15-minute chart. The daily chart isn't that good, but the weekly chart's pretty good. So as far as the top-down approach, there's not a whole lot of stuff relative to the last couple of weeks that I like on the larger time frames. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't setups out there. It doesn't mean that there isn't room to make money. There certainly is. The TPR, which I only posted one official call, that was the BZUN today, and that ended up getting canceled. It did set up again, that I didn't post it in the room after I canceled it. The TPR was an idea I put numbers out on, which was basically a 1-minute buy setup this morning, which worked pretty nice. Didn't capture the whole move or anything. But the TPR, let me go back here on the 1-minute. Right here was this 1-minute buy setup. Had to live through this pullback, but stop held 51.50, and ended up working pretty nicely. Unfortunately, the 5-minute tripped me out here. Same thing on the BZUN too. The 5-minute broke this 5-minute pivot here. So there are definitely stocks to trade. There just aren't as many of them. Same thing with the BZUN, was a 5-minute sell setup here, and I think I got out right here, which it did continue lower. Yeah, right here. So back half break even for first half was about 2 Rs, and it continued lower after that. So, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it was a slow day today. Today I only had 3 trades. Yesterday I only had 2 trades. And the last couple of weeks before, I had 5, 6, 7 trades a day. And what happened to me was, and the reason why this is so important and why I want to do a video on this was when I first started trading, I'd have a lot of success in earnings season. And I believe I talked about this last quarter as well, but I had a boom and bust equity curve where I would do really well during earnings season, and towards the end of earnings season, I would give back a week's worth of profits in a day, right? This is what my equity curve looked like. And then it would build during earnings season, and then I would give a whole bunch back. And then it would slowly build during earnings season, and I would give a whole bunch back, right? And this is not a way to make money, right? An equity curve of something like this is a lot nicer, right? Okay, so what I found was towards the end of earnings season, I was trading too aggressively for the market environment. All right, so I was used to and accustomed to seeing a whole lot of patterns, seeing a whole lot of momentum because we're in earnings season and stocks are reporting earnings. There's more people trading based on emotions. There's a lot more opportunity. All of my thumbnails are filled on all of my monitors, and I have a whole bunch of stuff to look at. And for lack of a better term, trading's really fun then because there's a lot to look at. And then what happens is, for me, right around the time that Home Depot reports earnings, things start to slow down quite a bit. And if I don't slow down my expectations, then what happens is I begin to take trades that are mediocre. They aren't as good. I begin to take trades that a couple years ago that were out of strategy. I began to mismanage plays, right? And because I didn't align my expectations with the current market environment, it opened the door for all sorts of psychological problems, which led to poor trading. Okay, and it was very simple. I don't know why it took a little bit over a year for me to figure this out, but when this was my equity curve, I went back to the weeks where I had a really big down week here and a really big down week, right? And I went back to those weeks, and there was one common thing that I found, and they were roughly the same time in earnings season. And what I found was, and I just went to that day, and Home Depot reported on, I was looking at the end of 6 earnings seasons, and Home Depot reported on the day where I ended up having a really big down day, like 5 out of those 6 earnings seasons. And so what I told myself is I was like, okay, now I have a large enough sample size to say I need to be cautious when Home Depot reports, because normally that's a sign that the earnings season is coming to an end. Now, I want to be really clear here, and 2 things. 1, I don't think that there's anything magical about Home Depot reporting earnings, right? Just like I don't think there's anything magical about a moving average. But what I did find, and this may be completely different for you. Sorry, I just noticed the VIPS is starting to break down here. This looks slower. What I did find is that I was able to develop a pattern, just like I developed patterns in the stock market, that I was able to develop a pattern in my equity cycle. And what I saw was that when Home Depot reports, I continue to trade really aggressive, right? And so I want to do this video because they did report today. It was actually a interesting day for Home Depot. I didn't place a trade or anything, but I did like them as a pro gap up. They were gapping up, and then they were gapping down, but then they opened in the middle of yesterday's range. So they did get some movement today, but I didn't like the daily chart enough. I thought they were going to end up gapping down here but they didn't end up doing that. So I think that the takeaway from this is if you struggle with over trading towards the end of earnings season, and if that's you, I would just encourage you to look back and look back at your track record and see what are some of the issues that are leading to that, and just as importantly, is there a way to tell when that may occur, overtrading may occur? And so there were a number of issues that led to the overtrading, but one thing that was very helpful was knowing when that was likely to occur. And for me, that was when Home Depot reported earnings. So it may be completely different for you. You may not even have this issue, right? And if you don't, I think that's phenomenal, right? But I wanted to do this video to, if anybody struggles with that issue, this is something that I use, that it's kind of like, I think indicator is probably the wrong word, but it's something that I kind of put the caution flag out when Home Depot reports to make sure that I'm paying really close attention to what the gaps list looks like in the morning, okay? So my expectations are matched off of the quality of the gaps list at the open, where today we only had 4 stocks, I believe, that were in the low tier 2, high tier 2 rating, which I can look to play at the open. And last week, sometimes I had 10 stocks, right? So it's important for me to really pay close attention to what the gaps list looks like. What is the market giving me? We've also had, today we had some up and down movement inside the 15-minute range on the Qs, and then we kind of based bullishly the rest of the day. But the last couple of days, we've had a bunch of narrow body bars here. So we're not getting a whole lot of really big moves in the Qs. There was some this morning, but overall, it's not like any of these days, right, where we're getting wide range bars. So it's even more important for me to find things on their own page with momentum. So I really hope that this helps you guys, and let me know if you have any questions or anything. And I will be cautious as we continue here, and my focus is going to be on stocks that have really nice daily charts, like today, the BSUN, the VRI, and the TPR. Those are the 3 things that I traded, and they had the nicest daily charts. AAP was pretty nice too, but that I could find, and I'm only going to get involved in those things for the time being. All right? Well, I appreciate you guys checking this out. I hope you guys stay in process, and I will talk to you guys later this week. Happy trading. Thanks all.